Have you ever wondered if something as simple as your name could determine your future? This is the story of Jamal Thompson, a brilliant young man with ambition in his heart, experience on his resume, and a name that, unbeknownst to him, would become his biggest barrier. It all began with a stack of job applications and a gut feeling he could no longer ignore. Jamal Thompson was the kind of person every company claimed to want. Graduated magna cum laude in computer science, led his university's robotics team to a national championship, volunteered every Saturday teaching coding to underprivileged kids in his neighborhood. He wasn't just talented, he was the kind of candidate that made hiring managers excited. At least he should have been. After graduation, Jamal applied to over 90 jobs across the tech sector. Startups, mid-sized firms, big tech companies. His resume was polished, tailored for each position. Cover letters? Thoughtful. Interview prep? On point. He even had mentors and career advisors review every detail. But weeks turned into months, and Jamal's inbox stayed painfully empty. Rejections trickled in generic and cold. More often, there was simply nothing. No calls, no interviews, no feedback. He started to question himself. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought, he admitted one night to his friend Marcus over phone. Maybe they're just looking for something else. But Marcus, a fellow tech grad, had a different experience. Same classes, similar GPA, less volunteer work. But Marcus, he had already landed 3 interviews within the first month, and one had just turned into an offer. There was one glaring difference between them. The name at the top of the resume. Jamal couldn't shake the feeling. Was it really his name? It felt too uncomfortable to believe, but the more he looked into it, the more he found evidence that supported his suspicion. Studies from top universities, articles from major news outlets. They all said the same thing. Applicants with ethnic-sounding names were far less likely to get callbacks, even with identical qualifications. He decided to test it. Jamal created a second version of his resume. Same experience, same GPA, same projects. The only difference? He changed his name. Instead of Jamal Thompson, he became Jake Thomas. He even created a separate email account for Jake, used a slightly different layout enough to avoid detection, but not enough to make any real difference. Then he did something bold. He sent out identical applications to the same companies, one as Jamal, one as Jake. Within 2 weeks, Jake had 16 callbacks. Jamal? Only 2. One company even replied to Jake with a personalized message. We're very impressed with your background and would love to speak with you. The same company had ghosted Jamal entirely. That was the moment the truth hit him. It wasn't his skills. It wasn't his resume. It was his name. Jamal was angry and heartbroken. He had spent his whole life believing that hard work would speak for itself, that excellence could overcome bias, that if he did everything right, success would follow. But here he was excluded from opportunity. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because someone looked at a name and made a snap judgment. He thought about his parents, who had given him that name with pride. Jamal meant beauty in Arabic. His mom had told him it was a name meant to carry strength, character, and history. It was his identity. And yet, in the eyes of recruiters, it had become a red flag. Jamal debated going public with his findings. He wrote a long post on LinkedIn detailing the experiment. He included screenshots, side-by-side application logs, even anonymized emails. Within days, the post went viral. Thousands shared similar stories. Employers chimed in, some defensively, others apologetically. A few HR professionals admitted, anonymously, that implicit bias training was often shallow, if it existed at all. One recruiter messaged Jamal directly. Your post opened my eyes. Thank you for your courage. It wasn't long before Jamal was invited to speak on podcasts, panels, even a TEDx event. Companies started reaching out not with job offers, but with apologies and requests to help them fix their broken hiring systems. Eventually, he did land a job, a good one, with a company that had reached out after seeing his story. But more importantly, he became a voice in a larger movement. This story isn't just about Jamal. It's about how easily bias can hide in plain sight, How many brilliant people are overlooked, not because of who they are, but because of what their name suggests to someone who never bothered to look deeper? It's a reminder that talent doesn't have a default setting, that resumes don't tell whole stories, and neither do names. And it's a challenge to all of us to question our assumptions, to build fairer systems, and to make sure no one has to change their identity just to get a chance. Because when we let bias blind us, we don't just lose candidates, we lose potential. This wasn't just an experiment. It was a truth too many people live every day. If you found this story powerful, share it. Let it start a conversation. Let it make someone think twice before hitting delete on a resume they didn't really read. Because behind every name, there's a story. And every story deserves a chance. Subscribe, like, share your story in the comments.